Hey, how's it going? So on this video, we're going to show you a quick clip from a longer presentation that we do all about follow-up. This is just going to be an excerpt that talks about the art of follow-up in general, as well as some of the barriers to why we as investors actually don't follow up at all, and the subtleties behind why we actually don't follow up. And we'll show you how to take the steps to actually overcome those barriers so you can actually do more follow-up and close more deals as a result of the pipeline that you build up. So go ahead and watch this clip. Hope you enjoy it. If you want to watch the full longer length presentation, we do these webinars all the time. You can register for an upcoming one at investorfuse.com/register. So investorfuse.com/register. But in the meantime, enjoy this presentation. Thanks.
And really the art of all this, the art of follow-up, is actually doing it. Is continuously following up with the seller over time in a systematic way, prioritized based on their situation, and actually freaking doing it. Right? The fortune is in the follow-up, but only if you do it, only if you're executing on it. No matter how big your company is, you need to be investing into systems that are actually helping you do this. But there's legitimate reasons why we don't, and I've dug deep into this, my human psyche, as to why we actually don't follow up. And the reasons are that it's kind of painful. It's kind of emotionally painful. Calling someone and leaving messages that aren't returned is draining. It's emotionally draining and painful. It's not difficult to actually do the work of picking up the phone or of sending an email and following up. But every time you do it, you have to think about where that person is in your sales funnel and how long it's been since the last time they got back to you. And you'll agonize over whether you should send that next email at all. And then it's just sort of you feel like you're wasting your time. And then we make assumptions that, they don't want to work with us, or, that's just a dead lead and I'm sort of wasting my time. But honestly, if someone really doesn't want what you have to offer, then they're going to tell you. You'll have a seller who will reach out. You can regularly see where they're at, and you can leave voicemails. And maybe you won't hear from them for 8 months, but eventually it might be time for them to sell. Selling a house is like buying a car. It only happens every couple of years. And although you can make good money with the low-hanging fruit, the bulk of your deals are going to come from follow-up. You can't make assumptions that they're not interested in working with you. If they weren't interested in working with you, they would tell you. It's tedious. That pain amplifies across every single lead that comes in. And the bigger your follow-up pipeline is, the more painful that gets. You have to do this repetitive thing every single time, and it carries over for every single lead. And that feeling of repetition without any results, that's the thing. Like, you're following up and you're not seeing any measurable ROI. And that is probably why we don't do it consistently, because we think that our time is better spent. And it is. Our time is better spent on revenue-generating activities like I showed you in the beginning of the presentation, rather than these tedious tasks of a standardized process that can easily be outsourced or automated. These are the reasons why we're not doing it. And here's what we're going to do about it. We're going to fix this. Who wants to fix their follow-ups? So how do you fix the leaky bucket? Systemize. So the reason you systemize, and the reason I systemize these days, is because it just takes less mental decision-making energy. When you put something in a system format, it gives you a map for what needs to happen, in what order, and then the byproduct of that is you can simply just execute the process without wasting any mental energy making these decisions about what to do next, because you've already mapped it out. Systems just are logical structures that you have to have in your business if you're trying to scale it up and actually become a millionaire. And part of that is just simply standardizing the process, coming up with the flows, coming up with the different communication follow-up sequences and different scenarios for each follow-up sequence. Just mapping it out so that it works the same way for every time, given the variables of that seller. And there's different ways you can set this up, but once you have it systemized, you have to automate. And there's a couple ways you do that. You can use minimal automation, which up until this point was how most people were doing it. Minimal automation, think back 5 years ago. And we're talking Google Sheets, we're talking Google Docs, spreadsheets. What other tools were people using 5 years ago? I'm curious. Paper. And basically having a spreadsheet that says the lead's information, the date that you contacted them, and then the next contact date would be how you would set it up with minimal automation. Just a simple spreadsheet that documents every lead that comes in. It documents in order of date received and then next contact date. That would be the most simple form of follow-up. You have the notes about each seller, and then you can sort your list by next contact date and just run through that list every day so that you're actually touching base with these people. So that's cool. That's minimal automation. We want to get a little fancier, then we're going to want to tie in some tools into that. And partial automation. So we're bringing these spreadsheets or databases to life. And this is sort of what's been happening over the last couple of years. And honestly, it's moving so fast that I feel like what we were doing 5 months ago is already outdated. What we were doing a year ago is already outdated, the way that technology is evolving. So partial automation up until this point, the most advanced partial automation you could do was using some sort of customizable CRM, like Podio. But the problem with Podio is you sign up for it and it's just this blank screen and you're just scratching your head wondering what the hell do I do now? How do I actually build a system that encompasses my entire business and ties in all my leads and all my messaging sequences? It's possible to do it, and we used to do it for 300 people. But in order to get all of that set up with partial automation, you needed to have tools. You needed to pay for these tools. Now GlobeFlow is $120 per month just to bring your database to life. Podio, for those of you who aren't familiar, it's that last slide. It's a customizable drag and drop CRM where you can have different structures for different parts of your business, and we'll show you a little bit what that looks like. You need to have an email system like MailChimp in order to get those follow-up messages out. That costs you about $10, $20 per month. Zapier is another system that allows you to take people on or off of lists, sending out text messages, connecting to any service you can really think of. And we still use Zapier today, but it's not for the faint of heart. Right Signature, if you're trying to send out digital signatures, that's another $15 a month. And then there's extras like a data API to bring in like the seller's address or the seller's actually property address and their home address, a backup solution so that all your data is getting backed up. And it just sort of goes on and on and on. I could list this forever. There's so many tools out there. Dropbox. And then once you have these tools, you have to pay for the talent. So you can either hire a Podio systems architect that charge upwards of $150 an hour. I think John with Focal Logical charged a little bit more than that since he was doing ground up builds. So you have this blank Podio database and you turn it into exactly what the person needs. But the problem with that is it takes 6 months of back and forth tweaking. Or you do it yourself and kind of hate yourself in the process. Ask me how I know about that. Don't even ask me how many hours I've spent on GlobeFlow. So that's kind of what you need in order to get this partial automation. So we start off, 10 years ago with spreadsheets and paper and having a system of sticky notes. And now we've sort of figured out that, okay, we have cloud-based solutions that allow us to sort of automate some of that, but it's a little bit of work to set it up. But now we're at the point where technology has enabled us to have complete automation. And this is the goal that we're all after, right? And it works for a lot of reasons, just completely automating the whole system. One, the most obvious thing is time. Think about how much time you would save if all of that was already done for you and all of these sellers are getting followed up with automatically on your behalf. Hours and hours and hours. Not even your hours, but think about the money that you save in not having to hire a VA to do all this stuff. Complete automation gives you way more time. And this is the reason why people keep talking about automation, because in order to stay competitive, you kind of have to keep up with the Joneses, right? More contacts equals more money. Obviously, the more people you're going to get in touch with, even to your existing marketing, even to your existing dead leads. I send out sly broadcast messages to my dead leads about once every 6 months, and it always re-engages the existing leads, and a lot of the times those turn into deals. More contacts equals more money with your existing marketing. And then with complete automation, you have all of these text messages, these voice broadcasts, these emails going out in a sequence based on the specific situation that you were talking to the person, and you can personalize the messages that go out. It gives you the illusion of personal outreach, which kind of sounds shisty, but would you rather people think that it was you and you're like a bulldog following up with this person, or would you rather actually have to do it manually for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of leads that are coming in as your pipeline builds up? The illusion of personal outreach is what works. It's not a numbers game anymore. It's a people's game, and you need to have that illusion of personal outreach in order to effectively do this. I think this is going to be the way it is just from here on out. Yeah. And then when you have it completely automated, it's measurable and it's improvable. You can see how many touches you had today. You can see how many contracts came in that month. Everything has a data point now with the technology that exists. It's measurable and it's improvable. So now you're not just spending time following up with people and hoping that it's actually going to turn into a deal at some point if you remember to follow up with them again, and it actually gives you an ROI.
Hey, sorry to cut you off there. If you want to watch the whole presentation, I highly recommend it. We do these every week, and you can register at InvestorFuse.com/register to watch the full presentation and to see a little bit more behind the scenes of the system that we built to help with this follow-up and a lot more for your real estate business. If you have any questions at all about our service, about this particular excerpt, or about anything related to Podio or automation or systems or follow-up, you can send me an email personally to dan@investorfuse.com. I will respond to you at that email address. Hope you enjoyed this presentation, and let me know what you think. Thanks, guys.